So anyway, but I had a theory in Crossing the Rubicon that we would end up with a quasi-right-wing fascist dictatorship with strong religious overtones. That quote stands up with a flag carrying a cross. And holy shit, look what's... And we both we started off the podcast because my theory was based on the fact that shit's gotten so out of hand with milk has long been a symbol of white supremacy. The OK symbol is a dog whistle for white supremacists. Drinking coffee is racist. Exercise, the white supremacist roots of physical fitness and exercise. It's like people are going to get so fed up with this crazy bullshit that the pendulum is going to swing so hard back to the right, you're going to end up, because of all of your fuckery, you're going to end up with a police state. You're going to end up with a quasi-right-wing fascist dictatorship that has strong religious overtones. And then by the end of the podcast, we were having a little fun. We were like, who would be the guy to do it? And we both agreed it was probably going to have to be a guy. We don't think that a woman could do it, although, that's very progressive to think that a woman could be a dictator.
Phoning it in so hard, we're literally phoning it in. This is the New World Order broadcast, coming to you live from the end of the world.
That's right, you are watching the New World Order broadcast, and we are coming to you live from the end of the world. I am your host, the Hatman. I am joined in the studio today by Harry, the Taxman. We're going to get to that hat in a second. Don't think that's going by and nobody's going to mention it. And we are joined remotely by, once again, Talking Head. Woo!
Yeah, welcome back.
He's back. He's back. Salute, my friend. Salute. It's great to have you back. I'm really happy that you could join us. How has things been going since we've been on hiatus?
Oh Lord. Personal life, just working. As far as everything going on in the world, holy crap, is there just I forgot how bad it was during the first Trump administration with the amount of every day it's some other crazy thing being reported on by both sides of the media, and it's just always me trying to figure out what the fuck is going on.
I'll tell you what, I have for the first couple weeks, I wasn't paying super close attention, but then the Great White Huntress came to me, and she was like, "Hey man, did you hear that he is signing 200 executive orders on his first day in office, his first 10 minutes in office?" I was like, wait, what? I don't think anybody's ever done that before. That's crazy. Let's go check out what's going on. And then every day for the next 2 weeks, all I'm doing as soon as I wake up is I hop on X and
see what everybody's blathering about now.
I just go to two things. For the first 2 weeks, I was just doing two things. I was going to, the real Donald Trump, his page, where they repost everything from his Truth Social network. And then I hop on the Doge page. I'm just like, what the fuck happened now? What the fuck happened now? I mean, it's been a roller coaster ride.
Oh no, it's been absolutely insane. Just like I said, just the amount of media coverage, and most of it's just a bunch of people braying like donkeys into the wind. But it's just, oh man, if there's a land speed record for how quickly you can upset everybody, I think that it's been broken.
It was breakneck speed. How much shit it was like. Let's see how quickly we can make this nice clean puddle very muddy. Let's stir up all the shit. And I get that it's definitely tactical. It's like, hey man, let's see who reacts. We're going to stir up a bunch of shit. Who has because whoever reacts the hardest, probably they have the most to lose. Don't you think? Maybe these are the people that we have to be keeping an eye on. I don't know. I mean, that's what they said there.
No, go on. Sorry.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what like Elon said that their strategy was. Like they were just gonna, go really hard and see like who started complaining or whatever, and then like, oh, those are the people we have to focus on. You know what I
Well,
mean?
the funny thing is that this is actually something that they're taking out of Steve Bannon's playbook, who was running Trump's campaign the previous time, and his tactic is called flood the zone with shit. That's literally what he calls it, and that's his words, not mine. But but it's what it is you do so much crap that no one can keep up with it, so a lot of stuff will stick by virtue of just nobody noticing.
Well, I mean, seriously, it does sound like a good strategy. What do you think, Harry?
It sounds like a war. You win the war and you kill all your POWs in one mass grave.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
what exactly do you mean by that, though? I mean, who are the POWs in this metaphor?
Whoever wins the battle kills all the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Okay.
And we're going after the enemy, but see, they don't want to actually physically kill them, but they want to embarrass them. That's why so much shit's coming out.
I think there's enough embarrassment to go around at this point. Harry, what the fuck is going on with your hat?
My hat? We are at a stage of war.
No, I mean, it looks like it's floating over your head.
Yeah, well, the headphones don't work very good. Elon Musk, what did his little group went from 20 to 80,
Yeah.
and they're going into it?
Yeah.
Well, the old guard from the 40 years ago that was disbanded, the Alphabet Army, the Black Ops and all that, they have been recalled into active duty.
Okay.
So Elon Musk wants to transport his prisoners to Cuba.
Are you? Well, you're talking about the ICE thing,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
But,
no, not Cuba. That's Guantanamo Bay. That's not
that's
Cuba.
Guantanamo Bay.
Right.
But
That's in Cuba.
they need
They
need some help,
Okay.
and we're willing to help
Oh,
for free.
Oh, okay. So you're bringing back the old troops, the old school.
The old troop.
Talking Head. What's that movie called with Sylvester Stallone and everything that they have like 6 of now?
The Expendables.
The Expendables. So you think you're going to be living like the Expendables, the movie? You're going to be living it in real time?
Well, they're old, but they got the job done.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Elon Musk, if you're watching.
I don't think Elon Musk has anything to do with ICE raids. I don't know.
No, he doesn't. But I couldn't even like make it through like that sentence without cracking up. Elon Musk, if you're watching. Yeah, that's hilarious. Hey, listen, this guy's got a lot of guns. So if you have like people, but they need guns, well, we got those, and he's willing to help. So yeah, I think that was the major point there. Yeah. So before we go any further, gentlemen, I do have something that I need to share with our audience. Harry had a really good idea. So what we're gonna do here, let me bring it up real quick. Here we go. I got it. There you go. So this is ooh, that's not showing up. Uh-oh. Ruh-oh. All right. Well, I'm going to have to overlay it over this. So this is a portrait that I did of Harry. It's a photo study for a painting that I'm doing. And Harry had an absolutely fantastic idea. And Talking Head, I'm sorry that you can't see the portrait. But we need more subscribers to the New World Order. The New World Order needs new recruits, especially now with everything that's going down in the American government and the geopolitical landscape. So any new subscribers to the New World Order within the next 30 days will get an autographed portrait of Harry the Taxman. Now, I'm not talking a little 8x10. No, I'm talking a 30 by 40 inch portrait for free, mailed to your home, autographed by Harry the Taxman. Who doesn't want to have this beautiful piece of art hanging in their home? And if you refer other people to subscribe to the New World Order, we will send them a 30 by 40 autograph portrait, and we will send you a 40 by 60 inch autograph portrait of Harry the Taxman. And that's very generous of Harry to offer that to everybody. So, Harry, I do want to thank you. That's extremely magnanimous of you to do that.
Well, we got to put you back in the art business.
Well, I think that you're going to start getting some hand cramps with all the signatures that you're going to have to do. Who wouldn't want that hanging in their home? It's a beautiful thing.
My question comes down to not who wouldn't want that hanging in their home, but who do you think would be comfortable with people like us having their address? That's really the bigger question. Like, how are we getting these to people? Are we just leaving them in like a ditch by like Walgreens and like doing like a drug handoff?
Well, I mean, I think that it's important enough for people to have that they probably would go out of their way to get a P.O. box or something if they don't trust us. And what are we going to do with their address? I mean, serious. I mean, Harry has been known to knock on people's doors if he feels like maybe they share the same beliefs that he has. He has been known to do that. He looked up somebody's phone number on the internet yesterday and just called them. Yeah. Like, hey, I see some of your posts online. I feel like we have a lot of the same views. And actually, they had like an hour-long conversation. They had a really good conversation. He just looked up their fucking phone number and called them. And I would never have the balls to do something like that. So I did. Yeah, I mean, Talking Head, you have a point. I don't think a lot of people feel too comfortable with us having their address. That's an excellent point.
Yeah, I feel like that might be a bridge too far for some people. But I mean, you never know.
Yeah,
well, like I said, we could arrange some kind of like backroom dealing where we sit there and meet you at a gas station,
Yeah, we'll do like a deep throat sort of thing, and I'll show up. I'll show up in a trench coat, in the back of a Quick Check or a Wawa or whatever, and we'll get the deal done. Thank you for becoming a member of the New World Order, and here's your autograph portrait of Harry the Taxman holding a Tommy gun. So yeah, I mean, who wouldn't want that, dude? So you haven't seen the portrait that I did yet?
No, I saw the photo because I was when we were setting all this up, I was using AnyDesk, so I saw when you were sitting there and getting it prepared. And by the way, the reason why it's not showing up is because
it's not a Google window.
Exactly.
No, that's okay. I'll superimpose it. I'll superimpose it in post. What I should have done is just opened up my Facebook page. I wasn't thinking.
That probably would have been the better way to go there.
It can't be any worse than me going to Colorado to knock on the door of the director of the IRS down in Boulder, Colorado, and suing them.
Where were you living at the time when you took a ride to? You were living in the
Poconos. Here. I flew to Colorado. I went to the director of the IRS that was in the town, and I went to the local court and I sued him, and I delivered the summons to his house, and I took pictures of his house and his family.
Okay.
And you know what? He got a little upset.
Now, did that surprise you?
Yeah, like if somebody was taking photographs of my house and my family while delivering papers to summon me to court, I'd probably react poorly to that one.
Yeah, so this didn't surprise you that he reacted poorly.
Well, it's a war.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Fair and love and war.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Why specifically the guy in Colorado? What was his title again?
He was the director of the IRS.
Okay, and so he's the director of the whole IRS, and he just happened
of that section
of Colorado,
right?
So why Colorado?
Because they have a section of the IRS law that he tries to threaten you with a $500 penalty for falsifying fictitious tax returns. So I had to go teach him a lesson.
Oh, did he come after you first for your zero return?
Yeah, he did.
Okay, that's why. That makes
sense.
Yeah,
I was gonna joke and just say it's the only address he could find, so he was like, "Fuck it,
I'll take the flight out." I could see Harry doing that 100%. Yeah,
I was expecting. He said flew out there. I was half expecting him to say he like hiked.
Well, So, talking at you obviously have a lot to say about everything that's going on right now. So, I think until we get into what I wanted to bring up, why don't you just go ahead and vent for a little bit? Because I know you wanna. Go ahead. So how did you react when you found out that it's Trump version 2.0? What was going through your head?
Yeah, so I'm not surprised that I even told you this, that was my prediction when we had talked about this last, was that this was going to happen.
Did you tell me that was your prediction, that he was going to win?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I told you I thought he was going to win.
Wow. Okay.
I said I was hoping that he didn't, but I definitely thought he was going to win. There was just when you sit there and, like, the Democratic Party is like the Mets. They are just constantly snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. And
Right.
they are just like, so you're running with this guy who literally can't talk. And even though the other guy is absolutely crazy and senile as well, he sounds sharp. He can say really stupid things and sound very cogent.
Well, we talked about this on one of our previous podcasts. I think it was the one that I'm going to show a few clips of here in a second, Crossing the Rubicon, where I was in a sales job at the time, and I was between appointments. I had an hour to kill, so I just popped into McDonald's and got a soda or something. And they had a big screen TV where Trump was giving one of his speeches, and but the volume was turned off. You remember me telling you about that?
Subtitles, yeah. So
and
when you're
the
reading
subtitles.
the subtitles, it's just like, what the fuck? But it's just the way he delivers it.
It was just like, I was watching it for like 30 minutes. I was like, he hasn't said a goddamn thing the entire time. So I was curious because Scott Adams is the guy who drew the Dilbert comics, is a trained hypnotist, yeah. and he was saying before he even became a Trump supporter. He was saying, no, this guy's a master persuader. He's had some training. And that's why I think he's going to win. And I was like, that's curious that I've been watching, either because nothing was misspelled in the transcription at the bottom of the screen. It just wasn't saying anything. It was English, but it had no meaning. So I was like, okay. So finally I was done with my day and I got home and I found the speech on YouTube. So I watched it with the volume on. And I was like, holy shit, that's a really good fucking speech. It was compelling. It was really compelling when you listen to it with the volume on. It's just like all the little utterances, that he gives, like everything is just, holy shit. Now I can get behind what he's saying. But when you just read it, like if there's a transcript, he doesn't fucking say anything.
Well, I think one of the most famous quotes, I don't even know who it's by, but they said that a politician can speak for hours and say nothing. Like a good politician can speak for hours and say nothing. And that's definitely the playbook that Trump's coming from. And it's like, it's all about his poise and the way he uses his voice and the catchphrases. And yeah, I'll agree with Scott Adams that maybe there's some subtle manipulation going on. The funny thing is that I've never tried to see if I can be hypnotized, and I know that part of that is like your willingness to go along with it. I'm wondering, because this shit just does not work on me at all, if I can actually be hypnotized even if I wanted to be.
I have hypnotized a person before. So I know I can do it to other people. I got a friend of mine to quit smoking. And he got fat right away, but, he didn't ask for that. He just asked to quit smoking. So, you got, I'm going to charge.
Nicotine,
I'm going to charge extra if you don't want to get fat either. You didn't mention that. And I'm pretty sure that I can get hypnotized because Harry, I think I told you this story. I was at a Christian revival meeting many years ago when I was a teenager, and they were doing that whole fucking thing where like they lay hands on you.
Oh yeah,
and you're supposed
Healing Wednesday.
Yeah. But they lay hands on you, and then what happens when they lay their hands and they pray on you? What happens to everybody?
You're supposed to drop.
Baptism of the Holy Spirit.
You said it. What was it? Talking head. You drop.
Yeah.
Right? You fall down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that actually worked on me. And I was not under the influence of anything. These guys, I was like, yeah, let's fucking try it. I don't care. I was kind of like, I was still open to the idea at the time. This was before I had started studying the occult or, formed any strong opinions on anything. Yeah, they laid hands on me and it was really weird, man. Like my body became like rubber. And I blacked out for a split second, and I came to, and I was flat on my back, staring at the ceiling. It was a pretty wild experience.
Well, I've seen things like Benny Hill. He heals people. They walk out of the
Benny
wheelchair.
Hill.
Benny Hill.
Wasn't Benny Hill a British comedian?
No, Benny Hill was also a preacher.
Oh, so same name, different guy. I got you.
Right, the name is spelled different, but
okay.
He did the healing, and then you found out that they were actors.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, that's like what's that fucking movie? Leap of Faith.
Yeah,
with Steve Martin.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, same fucking thing. I love it.
And Meatloaf as the bus driver.
Meatloaf was the bus driver in that movie? I don't remember.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That was a good movie. Yeah, the whole premise of the movie is that he's a faith healer and he sets up all these shenanigans, and then this kid who actually has an infirmity ends up actually being healed, and it like fucks him up because he doesn't actually believe in his shtick.
When the boss speaks and it really happens to you, you say, "Holy shit, man. This is for real." And he had to give the ring that he had to his apprentice, and he got in a truck and he disappeared.
You're talking about Benny Hill now.
No, I'm talking about the Steve Martin movie.
Oh, I don't remember any of this.
He had a ring.
That's how it ends. Yeah,
that's how it ends.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I'm gonna have to watch that again because, I mean, everything that's going on right now with all this. I don't know, man. Trump is leaning really hard into this Christianity stuff, and I do want to say that with everything that's happening with our current administration and everything that's I mean, Trump basically took over the GOP. If you're not MAGA now, you're not a Republican, and I mean that's what he did. He took that over just by sheer force of populism. He just took it over. If you're not MAGA, you're not a Republican. But with everything that's happening with DEI getting cut down and all of that Doge is doing, it's still safe to be anti-Semitic. They haven't taken that away from the left yet. You can still make fun of Jewish people. What do you think about that talking? I mean, that's pretty wild. I mean, they haven't taken that away yet. I think it's going to be the last thing that they revise.
Well, you got to look at Trump. I like to challenge Trump on what his knowledge of the Bible is, because he says, "I go to church on Sunday. I was in Sunday school." Well, hey, fool, the real Sabbath's Saturday, not Sunday.
Well, I have a bunch of clips that I was watching the other day of Trump talking to people about religion, and he's like, "Well, I believe in God. I've been a Protestant my whole life. I'm Presbyterian." And then there's another, so in one clip, in one sentence, he says these two different things. And then I saw in another clip, he's, "Yes, and I go to church, and I'm a Catholic. I've been a Catholic my whole life. I eat the crackers. The only time I drink the wine, I drink some wine only during the little ritual that they do." It's like, okay, buddy. I mean, he's leaning into it hard.
And he only shows up on Easter and Christmas.
Yeah, and then I saw
most people.
Right.
Well, the thing that kills me about that whole situation is, like, it's so patently. This is the thing that I don't understand about MAGA world, is he is so patently false.
Well, and listen, you can buy a ticket to MAGA World now for $5 million. It's the golden ticket, so we'll get you in.
the gold card visas so that corrupt politicians from other countries can spend $5 million to become an American citizen. Holy shit!
My point
But
is, we'll get you into MAGA world. Don't worry about it.
But so my entire thing is like this is the thing that always infuriates me is he's so patently false. He is such an obvious liar about everything. And people will just line up to defend him for anything he says. There are people who are like, oh yeah, God sent Trump to save us. It's like, he doesn't believe in God. He's not a Christian. And I don't care if he's a Christian or not, but you should if you're an evangelical.
Well, I think what evangelicals are really more concerned about is that he's pushing their agenda. Just saying that you're a Christian, they're happy with you. They don't care about what you actually believe. What do you think this is, the Spanish Inquisition? We're not building windows into men's souls. It's about what people say.
It's just such a weird disconnect to me because like I hate the Democratic Party for being liars. But the reason why I hate them for being liars is because they say they're going to do things and they don't. Trump just says shit that's patently false. And everybody's like, oh no, yeah, that's true now. Like, what?
Well, wait a second. I mean, the Democrats are certainly guilty of that, especially when it comes to Trump, over and over and over and over and over again, saying he said things that he didn't say.
Oh, sure. It's very nitpicky though. So it's like it's kind of like
it's not even, dude. A lot of these things are not okay. Good.
So to me, a lot of sure, there's some rash aspersions that are completely false. I completely agree with you there. They do it for clicks because at the end of the day, they're all people who are trying to make money in media. As far as, it's like we always say, Washington, D.C. is Hollywood for ugly people. But
or pro wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. It's getting more and more like that every day. But now what I was saying is that, a lot of times it's a mischaracterization. I was going to bring up the podcast that we did where I brought up the Jewish space laser thing, and then we actually looked into it and found out that she never said the phrase Jewish space laser, but everybody sits there and attributes that concept to it because there was an illusion made there. And I feel like a lot of people who defend the Democrats are lying about Trump, it's like they're saying what the substance is, they're just misattributing quotes or saying that he said something that he technically didn't say.
They're saying he said things he technically didn't say, and then they're saying that he said things, or this would be your misattribution. They're taking things way out of context by showing you 5 seconds of a sentence before he says something else, or one of the interviews that I was because he does an interview every fucking day now. One of the interviews from the thing, he's like. It was with Zelensky, actually. And one of the reporters asked him, what do you think your historical standing will be as far as your legacy compared to other presidents? And he goes, well, I would say, probably better than George Washington, maybe Abraham Lincoln, above those guys. I'm going to get myself in trouble. When I say these things, they don't realize I'm joking. Yeah, I'm joking. It's a joke. I don't know. I'm going to do the best I can. So they'll just take the first thing, and that they do that. He thinks that he's better than George Washington. And they do shit like that all the time.
Sorry, go on, Eric.
Look at the spokesman, the cute blonde that was his spokesperson. She's out there. She got questioned about the cross that she was wearing by the news, and then the next one that she got, she's not wearing the cross.
So she did get questioned by somebody? Because I didn't see that.
Somebody said, well, why are you wearing the cross? She said, I'm proud to be a Christian.
So Talking Head, this was a thing that happened here at the compound.
So I heard about the thing that I haven't seen evidence of it. So, but go on.
So basically what happened here was I heard Harry on the phone. He's like, oh, she was wearing a cross one day and now she's not wearing it. I mean, who said something? He's on the phone. Then he comes over to me and I'm like, I don't know. I don't wear my necklace every day. Maybe the chain broke. Maybe she didn't feel like wearing it. I don't know. So what actually happened? Supposedly somebody questioned her about it and put her back on her heels, and now she's not wearing it anymore?
Yeah, she wasn't wearing it.
So, but somebody said something about it.
Yeah, someone from the news media.
Okay.
Questioned her Christianity.
Well, let me show you guys something. This is pretty interesting. This is actually one of the clips that I have up. Where the fuck is my mouse?
Hey, so it's not Twitter anymore. It's X, and it's not the Gulf of America or Gulf of Mexico anymore. It's the Gulf of America. Watch out there, buddy.
that was the wildest.
That's her. She's cute.
Yeah. So
he banned the Associated Press from being at the White House because they refused to call it the Gulf of America. Like, oh
yeah,
Jesus.
I know, that's great. I love it. Dude, I'm so fucking entertained by it. It doesn't make me angry in the least. I think it's amazing. I'm just
entertained?
What's that?
Are you not entertained?
I'm so fucking entertained. So here she is, I guess before somebody said something, with her big fat gold cross
The past
on.
4 years, we've seen the Biden administration spend money like drunken sailors. It's a big reason we've had an inflation crisis in this country.
And here she is, I guess like a week later, I don't know, and not wearing the cross at all. No cross. Low neckline, same outfit, basically. No cross.
Good afternoon, everybody.
There you go.
How are we today?
Somehow a conspiracy or something. Like, it just did, like, okay, who cares?
Well, but did somebody say something or not? I mean, what happened with that?
So that's the whole thing, is as far as, and Harry can, like, give me whatever information he's got, but, like, I have not seen any clip of anybody, like I guess I haven't looked into it, but it just hasn't come up.
I haven't looked into it either, but I mean, I'm very, it doesn't occur to things like, unless I hear a press, somebody like, why do you always wear a cross? You live in a country with a lot of different religions. Don't you think that's inappropriate? And then all of a sudden she stopped wearing it. That would be something to consider.
Sure, but that would be very stupid because, like, everything is based on freedom of religion, especially in this current political climate. It's like, you would think she would have come in the next day with a bigger cross. You know what I mean? So it's like,
that's a good fucking point.
The whole point is, because I studied religion, I even questioned pastors. I had a pastor that did a Halloween in his church, and I had to dress him down.
Why? What's Harry? Tell us what's wrong with Halloween.
Pastor Bergen was a friend of mine. He was a Baptist minister.
Yeah. And
he decided to do a Halloween, but
Hallows Eve.
He was a Baptist minister, and he had the Halloween with Bible characters.
Oh, okay.
And I said, why the hell you inviting the devil into your church?
Ooh, the devil.
And I dressed him down.
Wow.
And he was just doing to make the church popular.
So how was he inviting in the devil? This confuses me.
Because he was celebrating a type of Halloween, which is totally against the Bible.
So you don't. So is it against the Bible to have a harvest festival?
Well, see that they renamed it, but it's still Halloween, the devil's holiday.
So what was Pastor Bupkis
Bergen.
calling it?
Right.
What was he calling it?
Well, he was calling it the
All Hallows Eve.
Like it's a Holy Ween.
So was he calling it All Hallows Eve, or was he calling it Holy Ween?
No, he didn't do the thing the Catholic Church did.
All right.
But he said he was doing Bible characters and said it was a Holy Ween.
Okay.
So it was a holy celebration.
Okay.
But he was celebrating it on Halloween.
And you think that this is blasphemous, is what you're saying?
Yes.
You do. Okay. So let me ask you a question. I remember in the 80s, during the Satanic Panic, that there were a lot of videos going around in circulation that Christians were watching. They were eating this shit up back then, and my parents were among them. That even having like a little figure of like a He-Man action figure or a Ninja Turtles action figure was, it's technically an idol, because they have magical powers. So even to allow your children to have toys like that, you are inviting evil spirits into your home. How do you feel about that?
Well, when I was 11 years old, I had a Howdy Doody doll.
Yeah.
And at that time, I believed in that bullshit.
What bullshit?
You believed in Howdy Doody?
The Howdy Doody, the Invisible Man, all these characters.
So wait, what are you saying? That you
Hold on.
believed Howdy Doody was real?
No, well, the thing is, as a child, I believed that it was a character.
Go ahead, talking head. What'd you want to say?
Oh no, I was just trying to clarify, but he's already clarifying. I was trying to get him to ask a question to get him to clarify. That's all.
Then when I woke up and I seen the truth, I did a 180.
Okay.
And you know what? That's what I am today. I do a 180. I question everything.
So I think this is where Harry lost all the magic in life.
No, there is no magic in life.
Bullshit. There's no magic in life. So, dude,
This is where Harry choked out his inner child.
Exactly. This is where Harry choked out his inner child. He's like, listen, anything that's fun that brings a sense of wonder to my mind is patently false. Fuck that shit. I mean, you don't even...
Misery.
Life is misery, right? But everything has to be utilitarian. We don't have a Christmas tree. We don't celebrate Halloween. But I mean, you told me too that it's because, so you'll tell me in one breath that you do not think a Christmas tree is a good thing because it's evil, because the ritual comes from a Druid holiday and the Catholic Church co-opted it. And you'll tell me that Halloween should not be celebrated by Christians because it comes from some sort of pagan holiday.
Pagan holiday.
And but in the next breath,
Halloween is Sam Hain, and then Christmas is Saturnalia, which is where all the
that's right, Saturnalia. But then in the next breath, like I'll be like, well, I understand that you're a very devout Christian, and you'll tell me, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. So what are your religious beliefs? I'm curious.
My religious belief is you hear these fairy tales that they give you make you feel good, and you're playing in your sandlot and you got all these nice toys, and I reject them because I look at what's real.
Okay.
So it's like a scientist. A scientist looks for what the foundation is. So I look for the foundations of everything.
Okay.
I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's cooking, history, religion, law.
So let me ask you a question. Happiness, well, hang on. Is happiness and joy, is that real?
No.
That's not real.
No, that's not
Delusion.
real.
Why is happiness and joy not real?
Because when you go to sleep and you wake up, the same shit's in front of you.
Okay.
It's a battle every day.
Okay.
And the best thing you could do is adapt to whatever you have to do to survive.
So if you accidentally feel happy or joyous, does that make you feel bad?
I don't know about bad, but you got to accept it for what it is.
Okay.
If I die tomorrow, who's going to miss me?
So in other words, when you feel happiness or joy, you just have to get away from it as quickly as possible.
I don't have any of it.
You don't have? Okay, so you don't experience it anymore, not even by accident.
No.
Interesting. Okay. Well, how's that working out for you?
It makes me stronger.
What was that talking, Ed?
Well, so I was gonna two things real quick, if I may.
This is a great conversation.
Yeah, no, this is interesting. I guess my first thing is, as far as Sam Hain and Saturnalia are concerned, and you having to dress down a priest or whatever it was,
pastor.
So my question is are you so devout that he is injuring your faith? Or are you just calling him out on being a hypocrite and kind of don't care?
I just called him out.
So it was just about him being a hypocrite. It's not that you're...
Yes.
Okay, okay. I just wanted to clarify that because that's an interesting stand to take. To just I do appreciate just coming in and trying to like point out hypocrisy where you find it. But yeah, I was curious as to what
Well,
your compunction was to sit there and talk to him about that.
listen, man, I am not a Christian by any stretch of the imagination, but I enjoy celebrating Christmas. Does that make me a hypocrite?
Do what you got to do.
It does. It does.
I don't care.
You can see
Don't
the
reflect on
disappointment.
me.
Yeah.
You can see the disappointment in his eyes when he looks
Oh,
at me.
No, yeah, he just mentally disowned you.
Yeah, he really did. Like, oh man, I think the only thing I could have said right now that was worse than that would have been like, hey Harry, there's a few lawyers that I really like. That would.
Oh, I'd like to crucify him upside down like they did to St. Paul.
I was gonna say, don't say that. He's got a lot of guns.
He does have a lot of guns. Oh my god.
But no,
so
my second question, I guess, as far as the joy thing is it that you and I'm genuinely curious. Do you just feel like that's a sign of weakness to not be disdainful toward things that you see as hypocritical or imperfect?
Well, the question is, religion is saying you're in a family. And if you follow the rules of the family, you're welcome. But when you have a difference of opinion, you're the black sheep. So I'll be the black sheep, but I'll know the truth.
Yeah,
And
so I get that. I can sympathize with that. I was just curious if like, so when you're sitting there and you're crap, I lost my train of thought. Give me 1 second. So
well, I think what it comes down to is we have elevated cynicism and struggle to the apex of Harry's pyramid. I mean, that is the best thing.
yeah, like that's what I was kind of driving at. So it's important that it's the fight. It's not necessarily about like so like if you're enjoying something, like you said, you just said to him that you don't feel joy anymore. But it's like so does enjoying something make you feel like you've shown weakness, or is it just that you just don't need that in your life, like it's unnecessary?
I'll bring a good point out to you guys.
Sure.
Your mother was a Christian when you were younger. And now she's turned into a Jew. And she's following Jewish tradition.
Well, Messianic
Jewish religion. So she turned into something that she originally wasn't. And now she's following the Jewish tradition. And that's maybe she woke up and she's very happy with that position in life. She's very comfortable with it. You got to be comfortable with whatever you believe, whatever your belief is, and you got to be committed to it. I mean, yeah, well, that's it. Because in the end, it's only what your belief matters. Nothing else. What nobody else says, it don't matter. I'm happy with what I am. And you got to be proud of that, because it takes a growing process to wake up.
Now, aside from the obvious that perhaps if you've elevated struggle and cynicism to the apex of your ideal, that probably gives you some joy. What do you do with that? That's a sticky one. But
You gotta
aside, yeah, you have to recycle it. It's got to go back to the bottom and come back up. That's where the serpent bites its own tail, my friend, and that's why any sort of idealism is hypocritical in my estimation. But aside from that, which is a very deep philosophical a treatise we could go on, like why does the yoga meditate for 30 hours a day, literally more than the hours in the day, and he has an ascetic lifestyle because he's fulfilling his ego through doing it. It's not that he is shunning his ego. That's his ego fulfillment. Look at me. Look how holy I am. I mean, let's get real. But aside from that, as far as the struggle being absolutely integral to the human's mechanism for creating meaning. I actually was thinking about that recently. I've been reading the Dune books recently,
stuff, yeah.
and I think that Talking Head, you read those before, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Harry, have you ever read the Dune books?
No.
You like the movies though, the ones that just came out. We watched them together.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah, they're great. So it's funny if you read the books. What the author is trying to get across is the proper role for governance in order to initiate the highest possible function of evolution upon the species. So I always looked at Dune as, in my opinion, an ideal, since I've been really looking into it, as an ideal of what the human race could possibly become in potential. And that's both aesthetically and philosophically. The story is basically they had like this massive AI revolution. Like computers were taking care of all their shit for them. And there's a group of people who felt that, listen, we have taken any sort of struggle off the table for human beings. There is absolutely no incentive, evolutionarily speaking, for the human race to continue to get better, to improve itself. So they had what in the books is called the Butlerian Jihad. It was a war against AI, and then they won, and they made laws throughout the universe that you could no longer create a machine that simulated the properties of the human mind. And after, years and years and years of having the absence of AI, the human beings started once again to evolve. And it puts humanity back on a timeline where the decisions that they make actually have consequence and directly affect the future, because you're not having all of your decisions made for you. You're not having all of the stress of your life taken out of it. So there are actually forces now that are laid upon you for your very survival that you have to contend with, and that forces evolution. And in this future society, in the story, humanity is monarchical, extremely warlike, but they've become psychic. They can traverse the stars without artificial intelligence through the use of their psychic nature, almost like they're peering ahead into time. And the pressure comes from the main character, Paul. Spoiler alerts for everybody who hasn't watched the movies or read the books. Fast forward. Paul Atreides ends up being able to see all future outcomes from any decision that he makes at his current position in time. That makes him basically a god, and it relieves him of that evolutionary pressure. So he conceives of, oh fuck, I'm cursed. I can't go any further in my own personal evolution. And he ends up ruling the universe. He overthrows the emperor of the known universe. Then after that, right now I just finished reading the third book, Children of Dune, where
that one I haven't gotten entirely through. But go on.
Okay, well, I don't want to give you any spoilers, I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there.
I don't get spoiled. Like unless it's like a Fight Club level twist, I'm fine.
Okay, so basically what happened is Paul, before he walked into the desert, he put humanity on the best possible timeline that he could, but he wasn't hard enough to choose a timeline that would put his loved ones into a chaotic. He wasn't willing to sacrifice his loved ones for the rest of humanity. It kind of goes back to that. Yeah, it goes back to that Matrix thing from one of the movies. The one where he meets the architect. Are you going to choose love over the rest of humanity? So he made the wrong, and then his son ends up with the same gift and ends up choosing what's called the golden path, where basically the universal empire will eventually fall into total disintegration, but humanity will have to lift itself back up because everything has to come in cycles, and they're no longer going to have outside rule. They're going to have to think for themselves, because Paul created a religion. Everybody was subject by his religion. So what his son does is he actually, instead of creating a myth by walking away into the desert and disappearing, he actually makes himself a living physical God that's probably going to exist for over 4,000 years before he dies. And he becomes a physical embodiment of that thing that's removed from the timeline. But he
Doesn't
has
he end up being like a giant worm?
Exactly. So he is removed from the human timeline. He's removed from evolutionary pressure, but he hasn't created a myth to rule other people. Now the empire is going to begin to collapse, and people are going to have to raise themselves back up, and he's reintroduced that evolutionary pressure without religion as a hegemony. Am I using that word correctly, talking ahead? Hegemony, that brings people together, that makes everything the same, so that it has current...
Yes, I believe so.
So let's pretend that I am. Okay, you want to... Yeah, double check real quick. No, double check real quick. I don't want to use the wrong word.
Keep talking in leadership or dominance, especially by one country or social group over others.
There you go. So what creates a hegemony is that everybody has to believe in the story, like in Game of Thrones. And religion is part of that.
That's just society in general, but go on.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So if you do not have shared cultural values, you do not have a central power structure that can be exploited for the purpose of governance itself. So the thing that I always bring up with the landscape of social media, of course, is, do we want hegemony or do we want atomization? Now, I think that what Paul's son did is he brought human beings back to atomization. We're going to bring the empire down to such a level that people are going to have to think and react for themselves. We're not creating religion out of a myth. We're creating religion
rebuild. Sorry.
Yeah, and they're going to have to rebuild for themselves. He replaced the myth of a god that can create hegemony with an actual living god that is so outside of the human timeline, it shouldn't have any direct effect upon it. You don't go to the worm and say, how can I get my crops to grow? You know what I mean? It's not going to make sense to the worm. The worm is just this awesome fucking thing that knows everything, sees the past and the future, has a collection of lives down to prehistory within itself. So it's not going to be able to directly affect the human timeline evolutionarily. So he brought humanity back to atomization, whereas Paul tried to create the most evolutionary pressure, but still retaining hegemony through myth, which is what religion is nowadays. So I've always said that people, in order to evolve, have to embrace atomization. They have to embrace looking absolutely nowhere except within themselves in order to see what is right and what is best. And of course, the world, that your experience outside, is going to be a tuning board for whether or not you're making good decisions. That's what evolution is. So I personally don't feel like people have evolved to that point yet. I think that they still do need a strong leader. And my evidence for that is, of course, that this administration is leaning, so they were elected, and they're leaning so heavily into religion. I mean, we had pure atomization and chaos during the last administration, especially with all the DEI stuff, and nobody knew what to think, and the goalposts for whether or not you're a good person are changing daily. I was really enjoying that. Now, all of a sudden, once again, we have hegemony. We have a strong leader, and I predicted this. I predicted it.
Does it sound like the Roman Empire?
This could end up going a number of different ways, but Talking Head wanted to say something. Go ahead.
So, to that point, I think that the funny thing is that Donald Trump is not the emperor from the story, The Emperor's New Clothes. He is the Emperor's New Clothes. He is like literally not there. As far as like everything is just going to work itself out, he's there for him. And there's this weird thing where, like, so I feel like with the way you were just talking about Dune, that he's like the worm. Or he's pretending he's like the worm and isn't actually. You know, he's like, he's trying to pretend that he steps beyond what he really is.
All leaders do that. I don't think he's anywhere near even pretending he's the worm. But I think what he is doing, I think this is definitely just textbook populism, like from that video that you showed me on YouTube.
But yeah, but that's what I mean is like, so I'm very morbidly curious, I guess would be the best way to put it, to see how it all works out. But it's one of those situations where it's like, this is like discerning by what you're going for. I understand we're talking about like religious context and stuff like that, but it's like, this is what I think it was Tyler Durden would say is premature enlightenment.
You know, yeah. Well, you know what I think I would, if I was going to say anything was the worm, it was going to be this really weird left-wing ideology where, you know, trans women get to play in women's sports or go into the locker room, even though nothing has changed except maybe they wear some lipstick. You know, all the crazy shit that's been going on that was so polarizing in social media the last 4 years especially. But I mean, let's face it, social media is the most popular media. This was breaking apart social cohesion, and it looked like it was trying to break apart social cohesion. And I was sitting here, whereas most people on the right wing, where they see, oh, they're breaking apart social cohesion, that's bad, we can't do that. I was sitting here wringing my hands like, let's see where this goes. Motherfuckers are going to have to start thinking for themselves. And now, and I predicted this, the pendulum just swung so hard the other way, right back to hegemony.
Oh, no, and I think there were a lot of factors that played into that. I think the fact that we had our first black president kind of brought all the racists out again. The threat to homogeneity was so great because, and the funny thing is that, like, I actually felt pretty good about things heading into, like, the Obama years kind of era, and not because I was political. I didn't even vote for Obama. I never voted, you know, before the past two elections,
Right.
because I felt like it was kind of, well, you're just picking your flavor of poison.
I felt the same way.
Yeah, and I know we're on the same page with that one. And then this weird backlash happened, and like the funny thing is, like, the one subject I think I'll never touch is women in trans sports and those kind of things, because I don't know how to feel about that, because I don't know what's fair.
I know exactly how to feel about it. I can tell you. You want a prescription?
Well, you can tell me what you feel. My point is that I understand where those people are coming from, and they're human beings.
So are the
should
women.
they be allowed to? Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Is that's the one thing I'll just never touch that, because there is no easy answer to that would appease everybody. And not for them.
And that's your goal. That's always your goal, to appease everybody.
No, but so politically speaking, you're supposed to be appeasing your voters. So if these people are, and I get they're only 1% of the population. I understand that it's easy to just sit there and be like, this is wrong.
Well, not anymore. It's very popular nowadays.
Like the sports thing. No, they're still less than 1% of the population, I believe. But they've just been cast in the spotlight as something to fight against.
What I'm saying is it's popular to declare yourself that now. So I'm sure the people who identify as transgendered is way more than 1% of the population.
Okay, I mean, even if that's true, the point is that you should be allowed to explore your sexuality and your gender and everything on your own terms. Competitive.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, I know you don't. Competitive sports turns it into a situation where you're forcing other people to deal with your reckoning of what reality is, and that's what makes it a dicey situation. And I don't know the correct answer to that, because I understand trans women's point that they, you know, want to be women and it's like, there's nobody who's pretending to be a girl to be good at sports, or if they are, they just are terrible human beings. And I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
You don't think anybody would disagree with that? Okay, yeah, I think there's plenty of people that would do that.
Oh, no. I'm saying anybody who does do that is a terrible human being.
Yeah.
But it's like a lot of these are just like, you know, people who have gender dysphoria who are just passionate about volleyball, you know, like, and I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
But as far as like the hegemony and religious aspect of the entire situation, I think the reason why religion gets pushed into it is tactical, just like it was with Paul Atreides.
1,000%.
And so all of this is coming about because this is a tactical maneuver. Because what was happening leading up to the first Trump administration, like everything up through the Obama years and all of that, was that you were seeing progressivism win. You were seeing people push the boundaries of what it meant to be a human. You were seeing people push the boundaries of what it meant to be male, female, pushing the boundaries of sexuality, pushing the boundaries of love and interest. And the funny thing is that the biggest problem that came from that was the adversarialism, to my mind, that ended up fostering itself in both parties. Because anybody pushing for human rights, if you've ever met a trans or gay person, you know that they're just human beings just like us and they're fine. And you sit there and you see this adversarialism start barking on both sides. It's this rhetoric that starts popping up because there was an overcorrection, to my mind, for the status quo. So instead of trying to change the status quo, people were starting to say, how far can we push this? And I don't mind pushing the envelope, but I think the thing is that the worst aspects of that, the things that went so far out there where like everybody's like, you're nuts, started getting too much traction, and it made it really easy for the opposition to come in and be like, we need to go back to 1930.
Well, maybe not 1930, but certainly
well, Trump
the
specifically
pendulum.
said 1890 something.
Yeah, 1893. There you go. Yeah. But yeah, the pendulum certainly did swing very hard in the other direction. I mean, this country right now has such a completely different vibe to it than it did just a few months ago. It's pretty wild. I mean, just seeing the Zelensky thing that happened
that was,
in the Oval Office. That was wild, man. That was wild.
I want to know your guys' opinions on that because I watched the clip first. Then I saw the hot takes on it from both sides. What do you guys feel about that?
Well, let me let Harry go first. Harry, you watched a clip with Zelensky, correct? Where him and Trump and J.D. Vance got in a fight in the press room.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
It was the little boy that needed the help from the person who had the purse strings, and he said, "Listen, we gave you so much. What did we get back?" And he couldn't answer it because he met the real man, not the boy, and he got put in his place. It's like a parent giving you an allowance.
Right.
If you misbehave, we're not giving you an allowance.
Right.
And like I said, I can't see. Did you see him dancing?
Yeah. You showed me that video.
That his culture, he was dancing, and when he had that red outfit on, you could have been in Chippendales.
I'm not gonna. It's a funny video, but
it is a funny video. But the thing is,
seen it too. It went viral on X. Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, now you got to remember this transgender thing. Trump had 7,000 military people that declared themselves transgender. They're out. Mm-hmm. Okay? So therefore, he believes in male and female only. Mm-hmm. So he got his absolute...
So he actually, one of his things that he did, the executive orders, was to declare that there are only two genders. Yeah, go on.
The transgender military is gone. Mm-hmm. So is he a dictator? I don't know, but he's sticking to his ideas.
Right.
Now, as far as the Yugoslavia, the only thing I could see out of Yugoslavia that we're going to start getting some mail order brides from them.
You're talking about Ukraine.
Yeah, Ukraine.
Yeah.
We're going to see the Ukrainian beauties leaving there. So therefore, do you remember when after Vietnam, all the mail order brides from Vietnam?
No, I wasn't around for that, sir.
Oh, okay. So. But after every war,
when culture collapsed, that starts happening.
Yeah, after World War II, it was the Germans that were coming over, and that's the victor. And these women were running out of that country because they knew what was going to happen.
Right.
And you know what? They are the better survivors going. And that's the problem. But like I said, I'm just riding the wave, and I don't care where it goes because they're not going to affect my life. But if Trump lost the election, Harry is going to definitely start an army because I have no choice in the matter.
Okay.
Because they definitely going to come after me.
Okay.
And then the rules of engagement is going to be different.
So this is interesting. I do want to say something on this, and Talking Head, I want your input on this too, because I surprised you with something I said last time I came over to visit and we were talking. Yeah, the last administration is the first time that I felt personally oppressed by the government. And Talking Head, to your point, until then, it kind of felt like pick your poison. You know, it doesn't really matter who you vote for. It's all WWE, man. The same people are getting the money. The same people are in power. It's basically a uniparty. You don't feel an effect over who wins and who loses. And, you know, I'm still just working every day, building up my business. Yeah, chugging along. And then I have to admit, something broke with the pandemic, then the George Floyd riots, then watching people fall off of jets that were taking off on our removal from Afghanistan.
Oh, yeah. That was a clusterfuck.
And automatically like a day later, our military is like, you know, in Ukraine or our equipment. So it was pretty fucking wild. And then I couldn't work. I for a long time I was getting government cheese, which, you know, it was enough to live on. Actually, the unemployment compensation that they gave during the pandemic, I felt was very generous. I was making about as much as I was making working. I had a job. I still had my business, but I had a job at that point, so I couldn't do my own business. I couldn't do my own business because of the lockdowns, but I feel like it was very generous. Then that stopped coming in. And, you know, just the weird restrictions, I had to quit my job because, first of all, they were expecting me to work for 14 hours to accommodate the 6-foot distancing rule. I was a photographer. 14 hours for the same pay. I was like, no, I can't do this. And then after that, they were like, oh, you have to go and get vaccinated. And it was years that vaccine mandates were such that any job I could perform, I couldn't get the job unless I wanted to forge a vaccine card. And I told you this, Talking Head, and you said, really? Like, yeah, why do you think I was unemployed for like 2 fucking years, man? I mean, that wasn't that wasn't my goal.
So, no, I understand what you're saying, but you've been unemployed before, so by your own.
But what I'm saying,
because you had money.
Yeah, but I always had my business, and that's up to me. But I mean, and like before this administration, it didn't really matter to me who was in power. And with this, like, shit fucking hit the fan. Is like this is affecting everybody.
The reason why I was surprised is because so you actually had people who said, we will not hire you unless you've been vaccinated.
It said it right on the Indeed ad for the job, must have a proof of COVID vaccination or a COVID vaccination card. Yes, that's correct.
All right. Yeah, I think that's wrong. The Supreme Court agrees with me. Because
that's
government employees.
And that's when I finally was able to go get my first job after the pandemic. I got a fucking shitty ass job at the post office because the Supreme Court did that.
Yeah, exactly. So the entire thing is that. All right. So
and my only point is that was the first time where who was in the White House.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Affected me personally.
Yeah.
So I just want to say this. I have always prided myself on being apolitical. I stay out of it. To me, it's the games for
you need to punch your mic, buddy.
Yeah, sorry. it's the games for the hairless half monkeys. Whatever happens, this is their game. It's basically a uniparty anyway. And then when I found out that Trump won the day after the election, I actually in my body felt a sense of relief, and I didn't vote. I didn't know that I felt that way. You know what I mean? And I sat. Well, hang on. And I sat down, and I sat down with the feeling, and I realized it's because, everything that happened under the Biden administration that affected me so detrimentally and so personally, now perhaps I don't have to worry about that anymore, because for whatever Trump is, he's definitely not a part of that system.
Yeah, so he's a different system that's beholden only to himself. And
Correct.
that is the thing that I guess, like, people take solace in that, and I understand why people take solace in that. I think that there is a very popular conception that the one thing that I will vehemently agree with Republicans about is that our system is broken. What should be done to fix it, I vehemently fucking disagree. Because this does not feel like anyone trying to fix anything. This feels like, let's loot the place before it burns down.
Right now, that's the way it feels to you? Right
that's
now.
the way it feels, yeah.
So I have to say, man, everything that I see, all of his executive orders, some of them are funny. I mean, the Gulf of America is pretty funny.
Yeah. Like, a lot of them are memes. Like, I get it. I'm not one of those fucking people who's like, everything he does is terrible, he's the Antichrist.
Well, I mean, the Department of Government Efficiency, like, I'm 100% behind that, man. I'm into it.
100% not. I am completely opposed to that. I see it from a completely different angle than you do. And granted, that's because I watch different media, but I watch right-wing media too. And the thing that I will say about Doge that concerns me is, so why is Elon Musk not in charge of Doge?
Yeah, that was the weird thing that I saw in that press conference. He said that the executive order called for an administrator to be appointed, and they can't answer the question who that is at this point. I thought that was a red flag for sure, but everything that I see on their website, everything that I see on their X page is and by the way, to answer your question, why I use Twitter when I try to find Twitter is because if you put an X in front of anything on Google, you're going to end up with porn, which is fine, but it's not what I'm looking for. Bad name, bad marketing, Elon.
No, but he's been trying to push that. So just to give you a quick history lesson, because this is just for fun. This is just for shits and giggles. He's been trying to push this X thing since before PayPal. Like, for some reason, he just wants this website named X. He named his son X.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I don't get what his fucking obsession is. It's weird.
No, I know. And I know that he wants Twitter to be like an all-in-one, like you can pay for things, you can shop, you can talk, and it's fucking, if he gets it done, it's going to be the most powerful site on the planet. It's going to be more powerful than fucking Google.
And that's what he's in this for. 100%.
Oh, yeah. Well, do you think that's why he's in Doge?
Yeah, 100%.
How does that benefit X?
So he's getting to see. So where did he go? He went to the Treasury Department, and he wanted unlimited access to their shit. And the judges said no, and then it got repealed, and they got unlimited access to their shit, just not to edit it. That means he can check the finances of all of his competitors. That means he can sit there and he can look at any information he wants. He's working on an AI platform. He's now able to feed classified information into that AI platform to make it learn faster. Like, he sat there and just recently, within the past couple of days, is working on canceling an FAA a contract with Verizon to update their systems, their flight control systems, and now replacing it with Starlink, which is a company that he owns. He makes $14 billion a year from government subsidies.
Well, to that point, sir, he already has the security clearance to do those things because of
100%.
SpaceX. Okay,
Yeah.
so he's been vetted.
Yeah, but Verizon has that security clearance too. Why are we canceling an already existing contract with Verizon, who, by the way, so here's where I'm going to get technical on everybody, because this is actually something
This
I
is
know
really
about.
interesting to me also to hear you so vehemently uh, prop up, defend Verizon, because didn't they
Oh,
fuck
fuck them. Yeah,
you
fuck them.
and
100%.
our father like repeatedly up the ass, like with
Yeah,
no lube?
fuck them.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
But if you're going to
But
talk about running the FAA, so if you're going to sit there and you're going to have a situation where you've got air traffic controllers running on a system, I know what Verizon's going to bring to that, because the reason why they sat there and gave the contract to Verizon is because Verizon has the best fiber optic network in the country, period. It like, as much as I hate them, you can argue about their billing, anything. I know what the technology is. I've had to install it. I've had to study it. They are just the absolute number one in fiber optic technology currently. So what that does is that gives you physically established links between all of your airports, where they can sit there and instantaneously update each other on where planes are. Starlink is satellite. If there's a cloudy day, you're not going to be able to fucking coordinate planes. That's stupid. Taking a contract away from Verizon where their technology will actually work and switching it to something that is going to be constantly breaking down because it's a satellite network is fucking bananas.
well, I don't know enough about that to judge, but I do think that the forecast of doom and gloom. I mean, we're gonna have to see.
Oh, I'm just saying he's
If
enriching
it
himself. That's all I'm driving at.
if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. Maybe it's going to be better, maybe it's going to be worse. I don't know. I
Now,
guess we're going to have to wait and see. However,
Starlink is a phenomenal system. I just
however,
want to sit there and say that.
yeah, but great. But let me ask you a question. If it's not going to be the Department of Government Efficiency, what would you put in its? I mean, you agree something has to happen, right? How
No,
else would you
reform
do
has
it?
to happen. Yeah, reform absolutely has to happen.
Well, what would
I
be
think
your recommendation if you were in charge of, in charge of the massive government audits that Trump wants to put in place, and he says, "Listen, I'm not going to set up any organizations or anything. You're in charge of that. Figure it out. What would you do?"
All right, so if you're being put in charge of government oversight, the problem is that government oversight is always running from the government. And that's why everybody likes Doge on the right end of things, is because it's having an outsider come in. It's the same reason why Trump got elected. He's a political outsider. So the whole thing is they're like, okay, the political system's broken. So we need to come in and we need to fix the political system. I think that all of the criticisms of both the right and the left, as far as the political system that we currently have goes, are completely validated. The reason why I think this is people coming in to steal everything before the whole thing burns down is because they're being so manipulative and so openly untruthful. And so there's this dividing line that's been created where you and I can look up anything and find stories that completely oppose each other. You can use statistics to war against other statistics from the same study.
Which ironically is what you're doing right now. I asked you a question, what would you do differently, not what is happening.
Okay, fair enough. I'm sorry, I was just laying a little bit of groundwork and venting. You had said earlier in the whole thing that, like, oh, I'm going to give you a minute to vent. So yeah, that was just me venting. What would I
Okay.
do?
I thought we were already over that. That was at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah. I didn't at the time. So and now I just this particular thing's a little.
Oh, I thought you got it out of your system, man. My bad.
No worries. What would I do differently? I definitely wouldn't employ the world's richest man to do it. Because he's got too many conflicts of interest, and apparently he's not even employed by Doge. It's some woman. So that's the big red flag to me is if you're going to say, hey, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are going to be in charge of the Department of Government Efficiency. Vivek Ramaswamy gets thrown out immediately for, to me, reasons unknown. Like, he's running for governor of Ohio now, I'm assuming, so that
Oh, I can tell. I can tell you why. I can tell you
let me know.
if that's
Let me
what
know. I'm curious
happened.
about this.
Yeah, Vivek said something about why tech companies hire outsiders is because Americans have no work ethic and they're not highly educated enough to handle the work, and people kind of freaked out.
Okay, so because they're both, well, because the funny thing is Vivek Ramaswamy's an American citizen. Elon Musk is not. So that's kind of funny that he's the one who left from that.
Yeah, but he was shitting on Americans' work ethic and education, and frankly, as far as work ethic goes, I'd rather work 8 hours a day and be able to support my family rather than these people he's bringing in that were willing to work 14 hours a day for fucking peanuts. So there's that. I mean, that's just the American way of life. Is your life is not just work. And on the other hand, shitting on American. Yeah, and on the other, unless you want it to be, and on the other hand, shitting on the Americans' education system that they're not highly skilled enough to tackle these tasks. That I 100% agree with. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, I mean that's why they're trying to get rid of the Department of Education, because that'll help. But yeah, it only helps if you put something else in its place. You can't just like do these slash and burn tactics.
Why not just let the states take care of it?
Because if there's no standards, why would you expect those standards to rise?
I don't know, dude. All I'm saying is, and I'll let you continue with answering my question, but just for the sake of debate, we've been in a fucking quagmire for maybe 40 years, man.
Oh, 100%. I agree.
Nobody else has done anything. So yeah, major overhaul after 40 years of stagnation, you're going to kick up a lot of shit and you're going to make a lot of mistakes and you're going to have to see what works. If you're taking something that's at least 40 years old and you're trying to make something better out of it with a massive overhaul, it's not going to be perfect when it starts. But it has to happen.
Yeah, it's probably 110 years old, the problem, I would guess, at this point.
The quagmire? I don't know, maybe.
No, I'm just saying, bring it back to the Great Depression. That's an easy place to sit there and say that things got fucked up, and sit there and the remedies that we used to fix them. Some of them were imperfect, some of them were impermanent, and some of them caused other problems that were unintentional.
I kind of feel like the quagmire started after the 1950s with the creation of the middle class, and I feel like a lot of slush funds were created. And politicians were starting to get very deep pockets, and they instituted these systems in order to enrich themselves. I feel like it probably started somewhere after like late 50s, early 60s, maybe something like that. I don't know. I don't have a lot of facts to back that up. It's just kind of my feeling on it. You know what I mean?
My argument for the Great Depression is that what you're talking about started in the Great Depression. So
okay, fair enough.
So yeah, I would say that World War I. Leading into the Great Depression, leading into World War II, that's what created the 50s. There were a lot of issues with the way that we came out of that. The funny thing is that the economics worked at the time, but the problem was that it was an impermanent situation and it had some bad ideas. So even if it was permanent, it would have caused issues down the line. And I will agree with that from what I've listened to from economists and stuff like that.
Right. So, I mean, now if you're going to take something that's, let's say in your opinion has been a quagmire that's just been festering and building upon itself, almost like a virus or a bacterial infection, a blight upon our financial and political system for 110 years. I mean, they're definitely shaking shit up. They're definitely cutting things out. They're definitely breaking things over and over and over again. I hear you loud and clear. But I mean, don't you think it would appear that way no matter who did it? I mean, what other recourse is there when you have something that's become so infected that it's blatant to people who have no access? I mean, that's why our generation is so cynical about politics because it doesn't matter who's in office. It doesn't have any effect. That's why we got that way. It's a uniparty. It doesn't matter who you vote for. It's always the same people in power because it's a massive bureaucracy.
Well,
It's a massive deep state, unelected people siphoning off tax dollars for no other fucking reason than they want to make themselves richer.
And to enrich themselves,
don't you feel like anybody who went in and tried to take care of that shit, the optics would be exactly the same?
So no matter what, the optics are going to be terrible. And the whole thing is that the optics are going to be good on one side, bad on the other side, depending on political spectrum.
Who's in office? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The thing that I will say is that the last time we took care of this, the last 2 times we took care of this, and both were Roosevelt's is the funny thing. And Teddy Roosevelt did trust busting. He broke up monopolies. He sat there and started laying the foundations for getting people like Carnegie and Morgan and everything to not have this stranglehold on the government and our economy.
Right.
And then the next thing that happened was with his great nephew or whatever it was, Franklin Roosevelt. Franklin Roosevelt came in during the Great Depression, sat there and came up with all the liberal tax policies that existed until Reagan came in. So he's the one who created Social Security. He's the one who created the welfare state. So it's like, if you hate democratic shit, then you hate Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and that's fine. It's entirely up to everybody and how they feel about this stuff. But he's the one who created the economy that ushered in the 50s. And that was considered like our greatest time of prosperity.
It really was, yeah, objectively.
Yeah. And it's such a complicated issue because, like, the fact that England and Japan's infrastructures and Germany's infrastructures were destroyed at the time when the automobile was just taking off. Yeah, American cars were everywhere because we had those advantages because the war wasn't on our soil. But even taking all of that and throwing it to the side, the thing that I'm driving at is that whenever we've done this before that has brought us into prosperity, it's by taking power away from corporations and giving it to people.
Sure.
And
I see what you're saying with that.
The way this is currently happening, it's taking shit away from people and giving shit to corporations.
Well, what's being taken away? So what's being taken away from people? And if you say USAID, I'm going to shit my pants and I'm going to go off on you. So don't say USAID.
So I won't say USAID. We fired a bunch of national park workers. We fired part of the IRS. We fired, is it 7 or 12 inspectors general? What inspectors general do is they're nonpartisan positions that are meant to inspect the government. We fired them.
I think that Harry's okay with the firing of the IRS agents.
Oh no, I know he's 100% on board with that shit. But Harry, here's the thing that I'll tell you, as a bleeding red lib. Blue. Oh well, I meant red like communist.
Okay, I got you.
Sorry, yeah, it gets confusing at that point, right? Like blues for Dems and reds for communism.
I know.
But so here's the thing that I'll say to you, Harry, is that you do realize that the more IRS agents there are, that the closer they can keep an eye on tax fraud. And I get that you just don't think we should be taxed, but like, I don't know, man. Corporations are going to get away with murder during the next 4 years.
I think they already did. I think they already did. And I think Pfizer is the biggest one. Literal murder.
Yeah, if you want to litigate the vaccine, that's fine.
No, I'm not going to do that. We're on YouTube, Voldemort.
Yeah, Voldemort.
We're not going to litigate the Voldemort. But Pfizer definitely has murdered people. I'm not saying which medications, but there's been massive lawsuits in the past.
Oh, so sure. No, there have been plenty of situations. I mean, just look at the opioid crisis and what the fuck is the name of that company?
I don't know. They did the movie on Netflix.
Right.
But anyway,
corruption. Right.
So I'm not gonna hold your feet to the fire and say what would you do differently, because obviously it's above.
I'd find experts.
both
I
of our
find
pay
experts
grade.
because it's above my pay grade. It's above Donald Trump's pay grade. It's above Elon Musk's pay grade. Even though
I
his pay
don't.
grade
How is it above Elon Musk's pay grade? I mean, he's running like 6
he's not
different
an
companies
expert.
right now, extremely efficiently.
How? How can you run 6 companies? Tell
I
me
don't
what he
know.
does there.
I don't know. What do you think he
But that's
does?
what I'm saying. I think he's just a guy who says he's like Steve Jobs. He's like, I'd like it to have boobs.
Yeah,
And then somebody puts tits on.
So you don't think he's in any of these companies? He's even involved in who has a job, who doesn't, what their
He's
roles are in the
heavily
companies.
involved. No,
Okay.
he's heavily
Okay.
involved in the hiring and firing of the entire thing. Just look at what he
Okay.
did with Twitter.
So I'm waiting for some sort of conclusion or a point here. That's
Oh, okay. All right. Let me try to wrap it up. What would I do differently? I'd appoint somebody who wasn't Elon Musk. I'd appoint somebody who's an expert in these fields. I'd appoint somebody who actually knows what they're looking at, and sits there.
some
and,
in other words, somebody who's already in the system.
not necessarily just even if they're an academic as an advisor, like that. Like, and that's that. So my fucked up thing with this whole thing is that if Elon Musk had been made the head of Doge and Doge was an actual thing, he would have had to have been vetted by Congress, just like Pete Hegseth and Raj Patel or whatever his name is, all those people.
But I'm going to
that
bring
didn't
up
happen.
again. He already has top secret security clearance. So
Sure, because of his whole thing with SpaceX. I gotcha. I'm not saying he shouldn't be approved. I'm saying there were no processes in place for this. This is a like the best way I could come up with this is like somebody knocks on your door and they're sitting there like, hey, I'm taking away your car or taking away your license rather. And you're like, who the fuck are you? I'm like, I'm the Department of People Who Drive Good.
yeah, I got you.
I was appointed by the president.
I understand.
Okay, well, who vetted your shit? No, nobody. I'm taking away your license.
So listen. So all I'm saying, I mean, is for me personally, that happened to me where
Sure, and I get
nobody knocked on my door. But I mean, if you want to use that metaphor, somebody knocked on my door and said, "Hey, you can't work anymore."
Yeah. No. I got
okay.
you.
When
That's
can
wrong.
I go? When can I go work again? 2 weeks to flatten a curve. 4 weeks to flatten a curve. 16 weeks to flatten a curve. I don't know. We're gonna let you know in the future. Just don't fucking.
And
worry.
that's wrong. And I agree. That's wrong.
Okay, so my personal experience has been that, and that was many every American's pretty much experience. I think it's a variance in how they perceive that difference. So hey, man, listen, if there's alarm bells sounding in your head over everything that's going on, I get it. I'm looking at this from my perspective more with understanding that something has to happen. Nobody.
Oh, you're looking at it because you're such a chuckle fuck. You're just like you say, next one. You know, like you said there, bro. No, you're a chuckle fuck. That's the reason why you're enjoying it.
Yeah, a little bit. But really, it's something that I knew in my heart and my gut.
I knew it was gonna happen.
Has to happen. So, and nobody's had the balls to do it. So whether or not we have it's kind of like my argument when we were talking about the Tucker Carlson interviewing Vladimir Putin. And I said, well, maybe he didn't do a great job, but he's the only person who stepped up and had the balls to do it. So I got to give him props for that. And I feel the same way about Trump and Elon Musk. Hey, listen, it's all these different people. It's been their responsibility, like every other journalist other than Tucker Carlson. It's your responsibility to go fucking let the American people know what the fuck's going on in this guy's head, whether or not they're doing a good job. It hasn't been that long yet, but I am at least appeased that somebody had the balls to actually sit down and try to do their fucking job.
Can I present an alternative opinion here? Is that it's not
you already have many times, but go ahead.
Oh no, sure. but not that people didn't want to sit down with Putin. It's that Putin didn't want to sit down with somebody who he couldn't control the messaging of.
Oh, I see. I gotcha. Yep.
I'm just saying
That's
that
a-
might be coming from his side.
That's
it's
a possibility. It's definitely a possibility, dude. I hear exactly what you're saying. I want to derail this conversation. I think it was
All
a
right,
good
I'm off
conversation.
the rails. Let's do it.
I think it was a good conversation. I want to come back to hegemony versus atomization. I think that that's a little more ripe ground to play with without us stopping every 3 seconds trying to look shit up and go point. And to your point, it's just going to be point and counterpoint, point and counterpoint, point and counterpoint, because it's way
alternative
above our
realities. Yeah,
it's way above our pay grade. It's definitely what Terrence McKenna would call reality tunnels. It just depends on how you're looking at reality, the perspective that you're coming from.
So
I
my
want
reality right now, before you get started, is that I need to pee.
Okay, well, let's take a quick break, and then I want to get back to hegemony versus atomization. We'll see everybody soon.
Process.
Right.
There is no. Here's the rules, and this go by that. You're going to have a happy life. Well, that happens in fairy tales. Happy ever after. Bullshit. We die. we go through trials. We get old. We get sick.
Right.
Nobody gets sick in fairy tales.
That's not true at all. Sleeping Beauty is about somebody getting sick.
Yeah. But the question is, you gotta face reality, what it is. I mean,
fairy tales are metaphors for reality. Stories are digestible formats for reality. They're supposed to be teaching devices. They're not just supposed to be escapism.
well, people just,
You can learn a lot from watching The Matrix, but it's still entertaining.
yeah. But then again, what can you do about it?
That's up to you.
See, that's the question. What are you going to do about it? Or you're going to throw your hands up and be done with it?
You talking to me personally?
No.
Or are you talking about people in general?
People in general. What are you going to do about it? Well, before you do something about it, you better study it.
Right.
You better get to the foundation of it. And sometimes you get down to the foundation and it ain't pretty. It's not pretty at all.
No, it's not.
But he's, like I said, you can discuss everything, but if you don't find your answer, you're just stuck. Now, as far as what's going on, the next 6 months from now, this country's going to be totally different. I don't know if it's going to be better or worse.
We'll see. I think there's going to be a lot of broken shit, but maybe in a couple of years it'll look a lot better.
Yeah. If they keep the tariffs up, and the average person that pays anywhere from $6,000 to $12,000 in taxes get that back, they're going to live better. That's going to improve the economic system in here.
Hey, he's back.
And you were
Yeah,
right.
I was just listening to Harry.
I was right, what?
And what's right is what you said about the middle class after World War II. All those guys coming back from
that
the
was
war.
that was the greatest period of economic prosperity that we've ever had. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when they had to do something.
Yeah.
There was no choice. You got 1 million men coming back to what? A
Yeah.
depressed state from 1930?
Yeah, we had a boon. We had a boon.
It may have been artificial for 30 years.
No, I don't think so. I think the middle class in the 50s was pretty organic. You don't think it was organic?
I think it was for real, and it affected the whole generation. Was it the greatest generation? I don't know. I'll see. Because I was born like in the late 40s. So was I a product of it? Yeah.
Anything to build yourself up, you'll latch onto.
The thing is, who made me the product?
Yeah.
Who gave me the birth certificate? Who gave you the dreams?
Mm-hmm.
But now in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, it started to collapse,
Mm-hmm.
like the Roman Empire did.
Well, so I don't know what you're going to include in this, but I can actually speak on that for a second if you want to, or we could get back to what you left off before I.
No, go for it.
Yeah. So the funny thing about that whole situation is that it gave you the ability to have dreams and have a hope of realizing them, and it was the greatest economic prosperity that we had, and a lot of that was because of a social safety net that was built up after the Great Depression, prior to World War II. And then when we came back from World War II, that social safety net was still in place, and you had
I don't think it was
loans and all of that.
I don't think it was only that, but also that our our manufacturing was so on point because we were at war, and then they had to figure out something else to do, and they created a whole bunch of innovative products for to sell to Americans, and they created a shitload of jobs. People
and Americans were making
income.
the products.
They were making the products. They were buying the products with the money that they made by making the products, and we had a really strong middle class, and a rising tide raises all ships. But
exactly.
Jordan Peterson makes a point.
100%. I agree with him on that.
In every free market, the freer the market is, what happens in a free market is you eventually have, and there's a scientific principle behind it. It's like gravity. You end up with more and more of the wealth in fewer and fewer hands. It's just something that happens. So you have to come up with a system to redistribute it. Otherwise your economy can't function, and we're getting to that point right now.
Yeah,
so
we've hit ultra capitalism. We've hit the point where there's so much control over everything that's about our daily lives from giant corporations.
Exactly, and that's why I'm thrilled about and they're the malfeasance, not only from government but from corporations, has become absolutely overwhelming. The amount of overreach and the amount of perverse incentives that they've set up in these systems in order to profiteer off the backs of misery and death, especially the pharmaceutical and the food industry. I mean, that's crazy. And, I think another reason why I actually felt relief when I found out that Trump won the election is because a lot of the people that he's putting into positions of power are people who, through hearing them come into prominence over those 4 years, like RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, these are people that I've come to respect and admire, that aren't afraid to rock the boat to get shit done. I like their ideas. So not only do they have balls, but their ideas make sense to me. Does that make sense?
Sure. Okay, so I feel like their ideas don't make sense. I'll agree that they have balls. I feel like the reason why everybody's latching on to these characters is because they're people who have definite and acute prescriptions for what we should be doing. Whether or not that's the right thing to do, I feel like the problem is that with a nation this vast, it's difficult to come up with easy solutions, and I think that's why Americans are upset with their leadership. Is because
but I mean, we can.
No, I'm agreeing with you. We want decisive action, and nobody's taking decisive action.
Sure. So we need that first. Now, the quality of the ideas is absolutely going to be figured out through physical reality. Reality is, it's cause and effect. So whether or not these ideas are good or if they're bad, whether or not they work or if they don't work, is going to play out in real time before our very eyes. But I mean, we can all agree that we shouldn't have poisons in our food. We can all agree that pharmaceutical companies shouldn't have a drug and say, well, Actually, 10% of which this actually happened, 10% of the people are going to have big problems with this. We're probably going to get sued, but we're still going to make a profit. And then they released a drug, and that's actually exactly what happened. They made like $20 billion off this drug. They got sued or fined for like $6 billion, so they still had a very healthy profit. Who gives a shit?
That's the cost of doing business.
Yeah, exactly. And a bunch of people died. But, it is what it is. And, the war machine, war profiteering, where you're literally making money off of the deaths of your fellow human beings, these incentives absolutely have to be rooted out. So, in my opinion, the most important thing first is to get people who are willing to take decisive action just because nobody else up to here has. And then, of course, try to get the best people. I know that you don't like the people, but I take solace in the fact that at least something is happening, and time will tell whether or not those things are beneficial. Does that make sense?
And I feel like that's the big thing that everybody's kind of latching onto, and I think that's why Trump won this election overwhelmingly.
Populism, 100%.
Yeah, sure. Because the entire thing is that he lost the popular vote the last time he won the presidency. This time he won the popular vote, and I think that's very indicting on the system that we have. And I feel like because you asked me what I would do, and it's like, okay, well, I would find somebody who knows what to do, and I would sit there or has ideas on what to do, and I take multiple people who have different ideas on what to do and see which one makes sense. And see which is going to cause the greatest good or the greatest harm, but when you're talking about a nation of
I'm not entirely sure you can do A/B testing in real time when you're overhauling
you
can't. So that's not even an option. You have to have somebody who has an idea and implement the idea and see if it works.
But move fast and break things works in the tech world because you're trying to create innovation. You're not trying to maintain anything, you're trying to create something new. I think the reason why it doesn't work in governance is because if you break the wrong things, you might not be able to come back from it.
No, you can always come back from it. If you make a mistake, you fix it.
On a long enough timeline, sure.
No, it's very short term. If you get rid of something that turned out to be absolutely essential, you put it back. How hard is that?
That's my thing, is that with a bureaucracy this large, it can take a tremendous amount of time to come back from that.
Well, we're at the end of this. That's something that we can both agree on. The bureaucracy isn't going to be very large.
so if we're going to sit there and stick with the what would I do? I think that more stuff needs to be put down to local governments. I think more stuff needs to be left up to the states. I think that regulations need to be in place to make sure that people aren't taken advantage of or have their livelihoods destroyed. They also need to not have their water polluted. They need to not there's a lot of things that you just need to do. And I think that the federal government has overstepped its boundaries. I think that it's supposed to be putting regulations in place that sit there and stop states from doing shitty things, but the states should govern themselves. That's the way we're supposed to be. It was supposed to be United States, but the state governments are supposed to be in control of what's going on in their particular state because they know what their constituency needs.
As long as it's not education.
Well, yeah, obviously don't educate them. Jesus.
No. You don't want the states in charge of education. There has to be a federal oversight for that.
Oh, so if you're talking about the Department of Education, I think that if you're going to sit there and make that stance, yes, they should be in charge of their own legislation. They should be in charge of but again, it's about regulations and standards. It's not the federal government shouldn't be telling people what they can do. They should be telling people what they can't do. And that's it. It's hey, this is too far. If anything up to that, that's up to you guys and what works for you.
I think what you should have said there is should do.
Because that's what I mean.
Tell them what they can do and what they can't do, or the basic.
Well, you can't pass a state law that says black people have to use a different bathroom.
Right. No,
so that's what I mean by can't do. There's certain things that are crossing the line.
So I do think it's very interesting that what's that old quote? when fascism comes to America,
Okay, it will be Americanism.
It'll come in the form of Americanism.
Ronald Reagan said that.
No, it's not Ronald Reagan. It's actually older than
Anton
that.
LaVey.
It's not Anton LaVey. We had this discussion on the previous podcast. No, I don't think. No, it's an older quote, and I think the full quote is something like, look it up. It's the full quote is it'll come in the form of Americanism with a flag draped over its knee.
Yeah, right.
Something like that.
In 84, something like that.
Yeah.
It's George Carlin.
No, that's not the
How
originator
awesome
of
is
the
that?
quote.
No, hold
it's
on,
not
hold
the
on.
that's not the originator of the quote.
No.
Let me find it.
I think it's somebody from like the late 1800s, dude.
When George Carlin, when fascism comes to America, it will not be in brown and black shirts. It will not be with jack boots. It will be with Nike sneakers and smiley shirts.
Now,
So,
so
like,
that's a variation on the quote. Yeah. So I don't know who said I looked it up last time. But so in our podcast.
I found it. Sinclair Lewis. When fascism comes to America, it will be wrapped in the flag and carrying the cross.
There you go. That's my point. So we talked about this on our episode Crossing the Rubicon, okay? Yeah. And we both agree. So we were talking about how I have a theory that America is headed for a quasi-right-wing fascist dictatorship, and it's going to have strong religious overtones. And that was my whole theory for the podcast Crossing the Rubicon. And we started off the podcast, if you remember, by going through clips. You watched it recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were going through clips.
Whoa, real quick. After you made your inciting podcast to sit there and fuck with me.
Yeah, well, obviously it worked. The one where I'm just trying to piss you off?
Yeah, I started watching the other podcast because I was like, that makes me nostalgic. Let me see what we talked about. And I was like, there's a funny thing where it's like, ooh man, like some of that stuff. I was like, I was super fucking wrong about that, and we didn't even realize it.
So the one that I put out to incite you to get you back on the podcast, inflammatory rhetoric, and I rang up 222. Things that I thought might piss you off enough to get you back onto the podcast. But
so again, real quick for anybody who's actually a regular viewer, Jess. The funniest thing about that podcast was whenever I heard that ding go off, that Mario coin sound, I was like, really? He thought that would piss me off?
Well, I was like looking at it from the point of view like you would wish that you were here so you could jump in, so I just kept saying things that you disagree with or shit that was incorrect, because I know that you love when somebody says something incorrect, you go, actually it's this, actually so
like the liberal that I am.
Yeah, right. So anyway, but I had a theory in Crossing the Rubicon that we would end up with a quasi-right-wing fascist dictatorship with strong religious overtones. That quote stands up with a flag carrying a cross. And holy shit, look what's... And we both we started off the podcast because my theory was based on the fact that shit's gotten so out of hand with milk has long been a symbol of white supremacy. The OK symbol is a dog whistle for white supremacists. Drinking coffee is racist. Exercise, the white supremacist roots of physical fitness and exercise. It's like people are going to get so fed up with this crazy bullshit that the pendulum is going to swing so hard back to the right, you're going to end up... Because of all of your fuckery, you're going to end up with a police state. You're going to end up with a quasi-right-wing fascist dictatorship that has strong religious overtones. And then by the end of the podcast, we were having a little fun. We were like, who would be the guy to do it? And we both agreed it was probably going to have to be a guy. We don't think that a woman could do it. Although, that's very progressive to think that a woman could be a dictator. That would be fantastic. But we both think it's probably going to have to be a guy. So we were trying to come up with people, and Harry said Ted Nugent.
Yeah.
That was your vote.
Yeah.
You thought Ted Nugent could do it. And I was like, it was other than I said Alex Jones, I think Ted Nugent is probably the closest that we got to, that's a really good idea.
I think I could get behind Ted Nugent more than I could get behind Alex Jones. But
oh, I'm absolutely certain you hate that guy so much, and that shows every time you impersonate him on our podcast. So,
I love impersonating him. He's such a good thing to impersonate. He is so much.
Well,
fun.
let's do it again. Let's do it again. I'll send you some shit. We can do it right after we're done. But and then we both agreed. We all agreed it can't be Trump. It's not going to be Trump. And what does that motherfucker do? His first 5 minutes in office,
Dude,
is he 200 executive orders? I mean, what's more of a monarch or a dictator than 200 executive orders? Your first 5 fucking minutes. I mean,
he literally said, "I will be a dictator on day one," but just day one.
Just day one. Well, he kept his campaign promises. You can't say he didn't.
Promises kept. Yeah.
Yeah, it's and what's with the strong religious overtones? I mean, we're looking at the girl with the cross. All right, so let me show you guys some clips. Let me show you guys some clips.
Yeah. Get to what you want to get to. That's fine.
All right, so I'm gonna go past my predictions here. All right. Check this out.
POV, you refuse to live a mediocre life. You no longer want to work, you're more productive than ever.
On day one, I will sign an executive order banning schools from promoting critical race theory or transgender insanity.
All right, watch what he says next.
I will take historic action to defeat the toxic poison of gender ideology and reaffirm that God created 2 genders, male and female.
God created 2 genders.
I will keep men out of women's...
All right, so that's enough of that. Right.
So you notice that he only brings up God. You can see him reading the teleprompter. He only brings up God when it's on the teleprompter.
God created 2 genders.
Spared my life. It must have been God. Thank you.
God spared my life.
I'm so amazing. But again, he's reading the teleprompter. That's the funniest thing to me about this shit.
Not once, but twice.
Not once, but twice.
And there are those that say he did it because Trump is going to turn this state around. He's going to turn this country around. He's going to make America great again. And
maybe I will.
So, by the way, you actually may want to turn down the TV a little bit.
Into our country.
Okay.
And God.
Is it too loud?
No, it's checking out because of your gate on the noise level.
Okay.
So anybody who's watching this hasn't been able to hear what he's saying.
Oh, at all?
Just parts of it.
Okay. I'll start it over.
And God has now spared my life. It must have been God. Thank you.
God, thank you. He spared my life.
Not once, but twice. And there are those that say he did it because Trump is going to turn this state around. He's going to turn this country around. He's going to make America great again.
God saves my life so I could save all of you.
But again, keep looking at his sideways eyes. He's constantly looking at the teleprompter. All that God stuff.
That doesn't bother me, dude. Everybody does that. I don't know why. Everybody on the opposing side talks about that. Like Republicans are, well, he's just reading a teleprompter, and Democrats will be like, well, he's just reading it. Who cares?
Dude, no. I'm saying it matters to the conversation. He doesn't care about this God shit. His speechwriters.
He obviously doesn't care about this God shit. We already talked about that. He's in an interview. He's in an interview going, well, I'm very much believe in God. Let me tell you, I've been a Protestant my whole life, a Presbyterian. I've been a Catholic. He doesn't even fucking know the difference. Of course he doesn't. I'm just saying. Look at JD Vance's fucking thing. Let me put this back on the screen. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. His first identifier is Christian. That's the first thing he identifies with. Maybe if you're the fucking vice president of the United States, the first thing you identify with should be patriot or American.
No,
maybe not Christian.
Not. Obviously not, because
I mean, and honestly, I think that family is more important than that. I think you should have husband and dad, and then maybe patriot or American. and then put your job descriptor. No, the most important thing on his fucking social hierarchy is the fact that he's a Christian. Dude, they are leaning into this. So, and this motherfucker, JD Vance, he's hardcore. He's not playing. You can tell.
That? You know what I call that? Virtue signaling.
I think when Trump does it, it is. I don't think when JD Vance does it, it is.
Oh no, it 100% is, because that's his only identity. Trump's just Trump.
So my point is, though, if with all the atomization that took place over the last 4 years, in order to bring it back to a cohesive social structure and get hegemony back on track, so that we have a culture to speak of, religion seems integral to that process. I don't think you can take it out.
So I don't think it's integral to that process. I think they want to make it integral to that process because they're trying to build something very specific.
Have we ever had a country that has a definite culture in human history?
No,
that didn't have a religion that was practiced by the people in that country.
The Enlightenment period, maybe?
They still all gave lip service. Yeah, I mean, this is the same point that the Dune books are making, is that it seems religion is imperative to creating a hegemonic structure strong enough to be able to create, put out governance in order to govern, in order to create
in order to survive scrutiny. That's the whole thing. Well, so hear me out. So the reason why religion is imperative is because you have to have your mandate survive scrutiny. And what says don't question me more than it's God's will?
I think that no, I don't think that's the way it works at all. I vehemently disagree with you. Yes, I think that nowadays, at least, I haven't thought about the past, I'm trying to make a point, is that in order to have a hegemony, a social cohesion strong enough to implement governance, it's actually a very dangerous and taxing thing to use religion. It's kind of a shortcut to it, in my opinion, because if you have an objective, and this is what the Democrats got so great, is that they never had an objective standard by which you could say somebody's good or somebody's bad, because the goalposts kept moving. So they can just decide anything they want. One day you're great, the next day you're doxxed and you lose your job and you're kicked off social media. So the goalposts kept moving. It's very dangerous for a power structure to have a hegemony that's based upon religion, because those goalposts don't move. They're 2,000 years old. So you are either a good Christian or you are a fucking sinner. It's one or the other. It's black and white.
But I've got a lot to say on that, because as far as the democratic system, like they're not, democratic capital D, as far as the Democratic Party goes, their goalposts are constantly moving because they're progressives. That's the definition of progressivism. I
didn't question why. I'm just saying. No. I'm just calling out a fact.
This is to a larger point.
Okay.
So they're constantly moving their goalposts. Conservatives, judging by just what they are, is a conservative, keep the status quo, keep it down. And that's the funny thing, is that's the interesting dynamic to me, is that conservatives, by their nature, should not be populist, because they're trying to, not populist in the way they're being populist. I mean, obviously they think they're popular. But my point is that, if you're trying to defend the status quo these days, you're a Democrat. If you're trying to be a radical these days, you're a Republican. And so, how is status quo all this fucking DEI gender? That's not status quo. Most of the nation doesn't feel that way. Where are you coming from with that? No, Chris, I'm coming from the popular. Sorry, I know, Hatman. The thing that you've got going on here is they've tried to flip it on its head. So this is conservatives taking Democratic talking points and be like, oh, well, you're just trying to preserve the status quo of the corporate elite. You're just trying to, so the whole thing is that we've turned it into the liberalists, the progressives, being considered the status quo because progressivism is status quo, which is just fucking weird. And I don't care about that. I'm just saying it's interesting. My
Well,
whole thing,
yeah, go ahead.
oh no, my whole thing is just that, like, I find that interesting that they've managed to turn that around so that
Yeah.
people who want change are conservatives.
Yeah. No, that and that's very strange. And I agree with you 100%. And I think that the Democrats shot themselves in the foot over and over and over again. And I think you agree with me on that. And over and over and over again. And what they didn't anticipate was somebody like Trump coming in and absolutely taking over the entire GOP. So what's happened now is, like in the 90s, I considered myself, if I was going to vote or think about it too much, I would have been a progressive in the 90s. But now I'm actually excited to. I mean, this is the first conservative president I've ever been excited about. I mean, I was 100% against the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan after 9/11.
George W. Bush and all that shit, yeah.
I saw what they were doing. I knew Cheney was lining his pockets with Halliburton. They had no contest. They had so many no contest contracts given to Halliburton. It was outrageous. I saw crony. I can see crony capitalism when it's in my face. I'm not an idiot.
Stop right there. Can you? Because that's the FAA thing with Elon Musk.
I understand the point that you're making. I told you, I got the point. It's definitely about opinions, but I'm not convinced that Verizon's system is better than whatever he wants to set up. I'm not convinced until I see it in action. Now, is he giving himself a contract? Yes. Is it because that he thinks... Is it...
Is it wrong for a government servant to give themselves a government contract?
What did he? What type of things did he have to? What kind of hoops did he have to jump through in order to give Starlink that contract? Do they actually have the contract? What process did he have to go through to get that contract? These are all things we're going to have to look up. I don't think our podcast is set up for this. Okay, I don't have a Jamie. I'm Jamie right now. I'm not going to fucking do it. Does that make sense? I don't know the specifics. Okay, so if we're gonna keep this general, I wanted to keep this a fucking philosophical conversation.
All right.
Not, hey, can you see crony capitalism when it strikes you in the face? Because that's exactly what Elon Musk is. Hey, dude, you want to slap me down with a fucking talking point? We're gonna be sitting here on the computer for 45 fucking minutes threshing it out. Do we want to do that? Is that the show we want to create?
Well, no, because neither of us wants to do research beforehand, which would be the better way to do things.
Fuck that.
No,
fuck that. Okay, so are we on? Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right. Do you guys have anything else you want to? Do you guys have anything else you want to add? I thought it was a good talk. I'll let you guys cap off, and then if you want to do Alex Jones, we'll do Alex Jones.
Let's let Harry talk, because Harry hasn't talked for a while.
Yeah, I was going to start with Harry. I'm not even going to say anything else. So, yeah, go ahead. Harry, you have anything you want to say before we get off?
I'm just glad we're at this state, because if the other party got voted in, I could see 4 more years of hell against the American people. And I could see a lot more damage to the American people, which would have turned a lot of people around. And it would have been bad results. I could see them kicking doors in because you disagree with some politician.
Yeah, that happened. Now. That happened with Pelosi. Remember that crazy guy that went and hit her husband in the head with a fucking hammer?
Yeah.
And they got it on video?
But that's my point, is that's not what he's talking about. He's agreeing with the people who went and hit him with a hammer. This is what he's saying to me.
I know he did. Do you not know by now, talking head, that when we have conversations, I am not for or against anything. I'm kind of just observing it and telling you my feelings. I am not taking a strong stance on anything. You understand that. Yeah, but he's agreeing with the guy who hit him on the hammer. I'm aware of that. All I said was, yeah, remember that? That was pretty wild. That's all I said.
Hold on. Hold on. I want you to look something up real quick. I want you to go
Jesus
on YouTube,
Christ.
And I want you to look up Maxwell Silver Hammer by the Beatles and play that.
Okay. Oh, didn't you want to? Also, didn't you want? Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I don't get the joke. What's the joke?
Bang, bang, Maxwell's silver camera came down upon his head. Anyway.
Oh, dude, didn't you want to talk about Leonard Cohen?
Oh, I did, but we can say that for another thing. I wanted to talk about like how everybody hates the Jews, but they're very prophetic, apparently.
Well, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, it is still safe to be anti-Semitic. So,
oh no, I love the Jews and Leonard Cohen most of all. He is like the best Jew ever. Like no one holds a candle to that terribly wonderful Jewish Canadian. But
well,
I wanted to bring up because I had listened to a couple of like Democracy, the Future, and I was like, man, he was fucking spot on. Like you quote Anton LaVey constantly in his prophetic nature. It's like, holy shit, Leonard Cohen is up there.
Yeah, and if I thought we could get away with it, I would end this podcast over the song "Democracy," but we'll get shut down. I'm very lucky with the one that we use. So it always comes up as flagged for copyright, but they never take the video off because the artist doesn't give a shit. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I can do? Like that I think will be fun because I can do an okay Leonard Cohen. I think.
No, you're not. You're gonna sing it.
Hear me out. We'll do karaoke, and I will sing the songs that I think that Leonard Cohen was very prophetic with, because I can at least carry a tune-ish. I'm willing to do that for content.
I'll tell you what. Harry and I are listening. I'm not going to sing along. Nobody needs to hear that. We will let you sing Democracy, and then we're going to wrap it up. Okay, so most people.
Oh no, I didn't.
Anybody who watches this, they're.
No.
When do you want to do this? After the podcast, then?
Later.
No, I'm saying we can record it for some future thing, but yeah. It's coming through a crack in the wall.
Hey, listen,
is from the field that this ain't exactly real.
Anyway,
is karaoke a podcast a thing yet? Maybe we stumbled onto our golden ticket here.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I mean they've got carpool karaoke on James Corden and all that.
Yeah, maybe we should consider that. Maybe it's a better format than sitting around, getting me excitable and screaming my fucking head off.
Argue Bros. Argue Bros. Podcasts. Oh, speaking of bros, real quick as a side note, did you see that Andrew Tate got let back into the United States?
Yeah, I don't know. I saw that story, and people were really shitting on Trump for that. I don't know who that is.
So he is a influencer who's a bro influencer who was accused legally, like not just accused by people, like he's in a legal battle in a foreign nation over human trafficking. I don't know if they're underage girls, but human trafficking girls for sex.
Now, what country was he in?
So I can look it up real quick. But he was in a European country.
Because my point is that the people are shitting on Trump for this, and it just doesn't make sense to me because the headline that I read, what was the country?
Romania.
The headline that I read said that Romania lifted their flight ban and then they just decided to come home. So how is Trump involved in that?
So the accusation, which I'm not going to monger any of this shit. The accusation is that Trump, because Andrew Tate is a Trump supporter, that Trump put pressure on the Romanian government to lift the flight ban.
Oh, I see. Because he does like people who like him.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Pete Hegseth as fucking DOD head? Holy shit. That's a Fox
I don't know who that
News.
is.
Okay. So, holy shit. Yeah, we run in different circles. So the guy who is currently in charge of our military is a Fox News weekend day show host.
I'm speechless. I don't know what to say to that.
Shit you not, man. Like, now, he's been in the military. I'm not going to take that away from him. But that's a position that usually goes to, like, 4-star generals and shit like that. He just was deployed at some point.
And he was not one.
Yeah, no, he's never been a general. I think his highest rank was captain.
Okay, Harry, what do you know about this Pete Hegseth?
Absolutely nothing.
Interesting.
So he's in charge of the entire Department of Defense.
I heard something about it, but I didn't investigate it.
Okay. Huh.
But I didn't. Wasn't interesting to me.
Okay.
So, that's a good question, actually, to land off on. Why were you not interested in that?
Because I know all the silly shit that they do with the alphabet units, and they hide things. The only thing I do know, there was one four-star general that did not turn off his one of his electronic things, and when that missile hit the Pentagon, it was not an airplane. Four of the generals.
I gotcha.
Four of the generals turned off this electronic device.
Are we talking about 9/11 now?
Yeah,
we're talking 9/11.
Okay. Yeah.
But this guy didn't turn off his electronic things, and he had proof that it was a cruise missile that had put the Pentagon.
Ooh, that
but
would be
he's
interesting.
an old man.
Okay.
He's close to 80.
Okay.
So it won't surprise to me if he had a heart attack.
Oh. Okay.
All right.
All right.
But that's the only thing I know about that. But as far as this captain thing, nothing.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to look into this Pete Hegseth character. I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, so he is now the head of the DoD, the Department of Defense. He was put through by Congress. One of the first things that he did was that he sat there and stopped our cybersecurity division of the DoD on counter hacking to Russia.
Mm.
Not that, like, you know, he wasn't like, hey, he was just like, hey, whatever you're doing with planning counter hacking to Russia, stop.
Mm. Well, I know that Trump has a good relationship with Putin,
super good.
Which I have to say I don't think is a bad thing overall. It just depends on how that relationship is used.
Yeah, exactly, and that's my whole thing is that, like, I don't think that Russia should be an enemy. I don't think that
I don't think that's good for anybody.
Yeah, well, my whole thing is that, like, it's not about Russia being the enemy or Russia being a friend. It's about the terms of that friendship.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I thought the Zelensky freak out. I think it was in the Oval.
Yeah, you never gave me your opinion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so my gut reaction was, yeah, this guy is not ready to sit down at the table, and it just happened to come out during a press conference. But then I heard from the other side, from the left,
the left is like this was staged.
Well, especially Eric Weinstein had something interesting to say about it, and from what I could gather from his verbose tweet, because he's a Weinstein, he has to do that, or Weinstein rather.
Damn Weinsteins!
Damn Jews! Oh, wait, I can say that. Okay, it's still safe.
Like, why are you dragging me into this shit? Anyway, go on.
Well, the lefties were all about...
a Mario coin. That would have gotten a Mario coin.
The lefties were all about, like, Palestine and the Jews are murderers and everything. So I think it's still safe. It hasn't. That pendulum hasn't swung back yet. That's my only joke.
No, that would have gotten a fucking Mario coin.
Okay. Yeah, I should have just made fun of the Jews the whole podcast. So anyway, what Eric, who I love, what I was just joking, Eric Weinstein said is that it looks like Trump set him up to do that, to make that spat public, because Trump can't figure out a way to gracefully remove us from the situation. However, my gut reaction is that we need to stop this war. And when he screams at Zelensky, "You're flirting with World War III," I was clapping. I was like, "You fucking right. You're fucking right. And we need to knock that shit off right now." Absolutely.
But here's my thing. Who's flirting with World War III? It's Putin. He's the one who invaded. He annexed Crimea. He invaded Ukraine. So it's not Zelensky that's flirting with World War III. Trump's trying to find a way out of it that doesn't involve having to double cross Putin.
We are flirting with World War III.
Oh, the world is yeah, fine.
Everybody involved in this conflict is flirting with World War III. I'm not changing Trump's quote. Okay,
I know.
It's one word. It's one word. Okay, but I mean, this war, that's debatable. I don't want to do another fucking 20 minutes on NATO continuously breaking their treaties with Russia. Do we want to litigate this again? We already went over this in the Putin Apologist podcast. Do we want to relitigate that?
It's fine. I'm willing to acquiesce to the fact that there is ill will.
I understand you got a little Ukrainian flag on your Twitter page, dude. I'm very proud of you, and I hope that makes you feel good. I don't want to. No, you don't. I'm just joking. I don't want to see nuclear war. Okay, that's where I'm coming from. Here. That's where I'm coming from.
So don't invade other people's countries. But anyway,
great. But if they do, then we're gonna just fuck it. I mean. Whatever. Okay, we're gonna end. You pissing me off.
It's fine.
All right. We're good. That's the end of the podcast. Thank you very much for watching the New World Order broadcast, and just remember, we're watching you too.
Someone is watching. There are strangers.